some people and do get along with others. It doesn't mean that person sucks, it just means they're not for you. So it's kind of, there are definitely people I didn't get along with, but I feel bad outing them because it isn't that they were like, especially terrible people. But I will say that working with Abel Ferrara, while he's not a jerk, he was really, he was great and terrible to work with in that he really trusted, if he hires you to do what you do, whether you're an actor or a grip or the cameraman or whatever, once he's hired you, he trusts you completely. And I did Body Snatchers with him, and he didn't make any actor say any word that was actually on the page. Just like, as long as you get the point across, I don't care what you say. Which can be great and can be really hard. I suck in that movie. I'm so horrible. I needed way more guidance than I got from him. At one point, I was floundering, and he's really manic and paces a lot. He's full of like untamed energy, and he's pacing back and forth, biting his nails, trying to think of what to say to me to give me some direction. And his direction ultimately was act better. And that sort of devastated me. You know? So, yeah.
I've got a question. As a child actor, was the part in the factory hard for you in Play 2?
From my memory of it, the factory stuff was all really cool. You know, we got to, you know, there was all, not only the Chucky dolls everywhere and everything, but it was just a different kind of scene, you know, a different setting. We spent a lot of time in there. I mean, there was I don't know how long it was, but maybe a month or something. Like, I feel like a big chunk of that movie was in that place. The whole part where I got to melt them down with the wax was my big memory from that, which was a lot of fun, which wasn't really hot, but it did really come out like that, and that was fun. You know, and just the props in that place and the colors, and it's really bright, and going down that bumping roller thing. I had fun in that room, you know. I remember that they took a bunch of those boxes and made a really crazy maze out of all the Good Guy doll boxes. Maybe when they were done using them or before or whatever. But I remember crawling through there and getting stuck a bunch of times. No, well, we're all running through the whole thing, but they set up like a crawl space maze of all the boxes. But anyways, now the factory stuff was fun.
Carol O'Connor was like a godfather to me. You know, Archie Bunker, if anyone doesn't know who he is, he was just unbelievably kind and generous to me. He was a really great guy.
My manager at Steak and Ale, we got along. We got along really well. You know, I didn't do that much work. Christine and I really did get along a lot in the second film. Don Mancini got along really well with. He was the writer and he was on set for the second one, not for the first. But Catherine Hicks and I had a really close relationship in the first film. She had never played a mother before, and I had never really played anything before, so we spent a lot of time together trying to get to know each other before the movie even started. So I had a really good relationship with her. Still do.
I remember working with Omar Sharif, who was really a generous and giving person, so easy to work with, great guy. And we had a scene together when we were doing a film called Che, about Che Guevara. And he was playing Che, and I was playing the leader of the Bolivian Communist Party. And we had this relationship in the film where I just, you know, looked at him like a brother and loved him and his ideas and everything. And then as he starts to deteriorate through the film and become this degenerate monster that is had enough of it, and we have this scene towards the end of the film where I confront him. And Richard Fleischer was directing the film. The year before, he won an Academy Award for directing Rex Harrison's Dr. Dolittle. So, you know, you're working with some pretty high-powered people. And Richard set up this scene with Omar Sharif and was having, you know, standing up on a rock about 20 feet away or something, playing the scene. It just didn't feel right at all. And Omar recognized the fact that I was uncomfortable about something, and so he called me over and said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Nothing." He goes, "No, tell me, what's wrong? Something's bothering me." I said, "Well, you know, these guys are like brothers, okay, and now that you've just become this monster, I think the scene has to start off a little more intimate, okay, and then explode in the end with a fight and all that business." And he didn't hesitate a moment. He called Fleischer, okay, said, "Richard, can I talk to you a minute?" And of course Fleischer comes over, and knowing that nobody's going to listen to me, okay, Homer said, I have an idea. I think maybe we should play this closer together. Maybe it should be close to me. We'll start off intimate and then explode in the end." And Richard Fleischer said, "You learn something every day. Okay, new setup. Okay, just did it and worked perfectly." And that takes an incredible giving person who's already a megastar. Okay, this was after what was the Russian thing that he did? Okay, Dr. Zhivago. Oh, yes, okay. So I mean, everybody knew who he was. And for him to just give that up, I thought it was pretty special.
I would like to say another name. It's a similar story. Hotel is not as interesting as that one, but another name you should know as an awesome person is Viggo Mortensen. Viggo is awesome too.
There's a lot of really great people who work with out there.
More good than that.
Yeah.
It's more fun talking about the bad ones now.
More fun to hear about.
Yeah.
So you guys were talking earlier about how, about thinking, no, you can just paper making a movie that you don't. And then you mentioned Dexter or something. What's one of the reasons that you guys are really successful movies? They were all probably really famous.
For me, I like TV a lot lately. I mean, I've been watching a lot more TV than I've been going to the movies or movies at home or anything like that. I like a lot of those HBO Showtime shows. Dexter, I would say, is my favorite. I gave True Blood 2 seasons. This third season, I don't know where they're going with it. But The Big C is a good show. Weeds is a good show. Most of those TV drama series I like a lot. Nurse Jackie is a good show. I was a huge fan of, the show Oz on HBO. It was one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't know. I like drama. I like to laugh too, and I like comedies. And if a good comedy comes out, I'll probably order it when it gets on demand. And I don't go to the theater very often anymore. But I don't know. Well acted, well written dramas are what I enjoy the most.
I like it when a company or a director or writer just goes to that place that nobody has gone before, or areas which they feel are dangerous. When I heard they were going to do the L word, I went, well, okay, that's getting it out there, You got to give them props for that. And there's a lot of shows, TV shows that are that way. Nurse Jackie, one of them, so for me, it's breaking that wall of mediocrity, okay? And when you get a television show or a film that can break you out of that, that's the stuff that I look for.
I kind of agree with Alex. I'm kind of about the cable drama series too, and Mad Men. And I never remember what I like, but it's so weird. My two all-time favorites would be The Wire is going to be the best, and I'm a really big fan of Twin Peaks. The Wire knocked Twin Peaks out of position 1. Although I did see the first episode of this new show, Newsrooms, Aaron Sorkin's show. Is it HBO? It looks to be good. It's really, really wordy, really dense and smart and well written. And so I have high hopes for that one too.
I love Louis on FX. One of my favorite shows. That's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One of my favorite shows. Yeah, what else we got? I don't know, I made movies in the 80s.
I did a series, a very short-lived series, and maybe fortunately so, called The People Next Door. And I played this guy's conscience. And for the whole time that I worked on the show, I never really worked with anybody. I was in the green screen area, okay? And I was just talking to C-stands and chairs and stuff, okay? And all that was stuck together with what they were doing, what the real people were doing in the soundstage. So, it's a whole, it's just a challenge. You don't have the person there to deal with, okay? You're just dealing with mechanical stuff. But, you get over it.
It sounds far more difficult to me. I mean, with the Chucky thing, I got to pretty much work off that doll all the time. It was right there in front of me. So it made it a lot easier than to imagine it. I mean, it's not about CGI, but after Chucky was burned and it was melted down, they didn't want me to see that doll. They thought that would be too dramatic for me. That would be too intense. So there's a couple scenes at the end of the movie, at the first one that I did just to nothing. But for the most part, the doll was always there for me. So, working in a green screen like that sounds very difficult to me. I think I'd have a really hard time with that.
We did a film called Razor, and it was about this group of religious zealots, whatever, who had this dog who would prepare people to go meet God. Okay? Only the dog was a hyena. And you can't train a hyena. A hyena is one animal on the planet that you just cannot train. It was wild. So it was all done green screen. And, they had this cage built around the set, the exterior sets. And it was green, everything on the thing was green. Green, this green, that green, the other thing. Okay, but the hyena would charge the cage and try to get at the camera operator and try to eat the director. It's it's crazy. And so when you have that kind of stuff that you have to deal with, along with not having somebody real in front of you, it's kind of crazy.
I've never done it, but I can tell you what I do all the time that feels the same, and that's auditioning. An audition is acting in a vacuum too, sitting in a chair, nothing you're supposed to be responding to is there with you. The casting director doesn't often even look up from the paper, reads in a monotone, messes up her own lines, jumps through. It's crazy what they do. It's amazing how horrible a process it can be. And then you'll have you do things where be reacting to being struck or strangled, and you have to be hysterical, and nothing's happening to you. So and you feel like a jackass. You feel it's so embarrassing. So I think it's very similar to that.
That's kind of why I quit acting, honestly. When I was 13, by the time I got to about 12, 13, I got so uncomfortable doing things like that in auditions. I mean, that's really tough. That's really tough.
I started in 1961, and at least at that point in time, you were auditioning in front of the director and maybe the producer, and you had a casting director that actually could act, and so it was kind of easy. But I made this giant, and I do this crap all the time, I made this giant mistake. I was auditioning for some cop show, New York cop show, whatever it was, for Herbert B. Leonard. At that time, Herbert B. Leonard was Mr. Television. I mean, this guy had, every one of his shows was absolutely successful, all the way down to Naked City, that was the name of the show. And So I'm working, I'm cooking this thing, okay? And he's sitting in his chair with his head down, playing with cigars in his cigar box. And at one point I just stopped. I said, are you going to pay attention to me, or what are we doing here? I had no idea. He never looked at actors. He wanted to know if just hearing them, he would believe what it was that they were doing. You know, and when you have no clue, you make dumb mistakes like that. I mean, I laughed in Alfred Hitchcock's face, okay? Because I got an interview to do Topaz, and he had his office at Universal Studios, and his wife decorated the office, so Irish lace curtains and this, that, and the other thing. And when I walked in to the office, he was over on the side, and he was coming back to his desk to shake my hand and sit down. Well, as he came in front of the window, there was the profile, okay? And I just started laughing, and he looked at me like anybody laughing at the window. And he realized what I saw, okay, and he started laughing too. And so it all worked out cool. But, you know, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. My mouth gets me in trouble sometimes, you know? But I was auditioning for this thing, and they didn't know whether they were going to go old or young with the part. It was the sheriff and Bonnie and Clyde. And I was auditioning, and the director started pulling this, you know, Actors Studio bullshit on me. And, you know, I'm fighting for my life here. By this time, I got a wife and one kid, and trying to, you know, make things happen for myself. And so I stopped and I said, excuse me, but, you know, when you're through jerking off, I'll be out in the lobby. And they decided to go old. But, you know, I get in trouble because I speak my mind. That's the way I am. Can't handle it, tough.
It's worth 12 minutes.
I've been doing this for 50 years, okay? I haven't insulted that many people.
With all of the new remakes that they have done of old films, they've done remakes of them. What is your opinion, all of you, as far as, is it better, is it worse? Because as a fan, a lot of us kind of fall back towards, you know, the original. But what would be your take on it?
I think that it's weird because everyone likes to complain about remakes, and then they all go out and see it, and it makes a ton of money, and it inspires them to continue doing this to every movie we've ever seen. I think when you have an original idea that's a great idea, and you say this is a really great idea, I'd love to get this out to people, I think people would appreciate it, and hey, maybe we'll make some money out of it, you're on the right track. When you say, hey, but we can make a bunch of money, let's come up with, you know, an idea. When you work it backwards like that, and you say, oh, well, we already have one, this will probably work, I think we'll make a bunch of money doing this again. You would think that it would fail before it even started, and yet everyone still goes to see these movies. They're making another Child's Play movie. I just know because people have been messaging me on Facebook about it constantly. But everyone's saying it was supposed to be a remake, and then it was going to be a continuation. And now I don't know, it might be somewhere in between or something like that. But yeah, as much as people like to complain about it, they're all going to go see it. They still want to see it, even if it's to make fun of it and say it's not as good as the original.
So, yeah, it's like watching a train wreck.
Yeah, you got to look.
And the thing is, everybody's got to take responsibility for the problem. Okay? If you don't like remakes and the whole idea that they're remaking a film that you really appreciated when it first came out and it was #1, okay, then don't go. Okay? If they lose money, because that's what drives everything, okay? What's in your pocket right now is what drives the world. So if you don't like the idea of remake after remake after, you know, Alexander Part 52. Okay, it's like, give me a break. Don't go.
I say go. Go and spend your money on actual original content so they stop making reality shows.
Yeah. Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
I can't think of one offhand. I mean, there must be some remake somewhere that was better than the original. I can't think of anything, but
Sometimes they're good. I mean,
can anyone think of something?
That was better.
Actually, I was going to mention Halloween. I think
Halloween is good.
I think when he gave a reason for why Michael was the way that he is, okay, that just made so much sense, and it made Michael human, but scarier because he was human. And so in that instance, I think the remake was a good idea, because it's like, you know, all the old science fiction films, or even the original George, I'm not, you know, talking shit on me, okay, the Night of the Living Dead, okay, when you can't explain the phenomenon, it came from outer space. Oh, well, good, okay, fine, all right. So Rob didn't make it come from outer space, it came from inside this kid, and that's what impressed me about that. Now, the remake of Halloween, there's some questionable things, you know, maybe it should have been done. I know that he had his hands tied a little bit on that one, but you know, there's very few remakes that are actually better than the original. Huh?
I know what we did in the second one. We've been persona non grata. Got along, I guess.
Yeah.
Of all the movies that you all made, what is the best line that you believe, or favorite line that you believe you've ever delivered? And would you indulge us? Because I think we all love to hear that one line that comes out of your mind every time you think about all the movies you've done.
You got a handful of great ones. I mean, one movie alone, I think of a bunch of them that are amazing.
You think you did the best? That was the best line you ever did.
I have a very limited amount, so I can probably answer quicker. The only thing that I can think of, it's not that I delivered it so great or that it was my favorite line, but it was a line that Tom Holland worked very hard on me saying and doing just the way he wanted it. And it was "This is the end, friend," at the end, right before I lit Chucky on fire. I just remember, maybe he didn't like the way I did it the first 5 times, but he was really, really wanted it a certain way. And then when I did it, he got really excited and picked me up and was all cheering and thrilled. The whole room was cheering, and so I felt good at the time, I guess. But yeah, that's it for me.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's things from the menu of House of a Thousand Corpses that is pretty fun. But God, it's tough.
I haven't had a career. I think that kind of dialogue is reserved for, I think, big stars to get that great, you know, you're talking to me kind of stuff to get to say, you know. So I don't have any single line but for me it's more about performance, and the performances I'm more proud of. And I would say for me that would be my work on China Beach. I worked on China Beach for a while, and the material, I was early on for me, and it was really challenging material, and the actors were really great. It's really well written and really well acted all around me, and I felt like that for the first time elevated my performance. I could almost, maybe I was just as bad as ever, but everyone around me made me look better, and I felt like I had risen to the occasion, and I was proud of myself on that job. It's funny, I recently finished a novel, and I have a character in it as an actress, and with her career, coincidentally, matching the status of mine. And I actually say in it, I haven't had the career where I got to say that. It's like iconic, you know, you talking to me, and you know, you feeling lucky, and those, you know, those great lines. So. wish I had some for you.
I think Bill Moseley had one of the best lines in The Devil's Rejects when he said, "The next words out of your mouth being a better piece of real Mark Twain shit because it's going to be carved on your gravestone." Yeah.
I had a question for Alex and then everybody else, but I was just specifically wondering, this is going to be kind of odd, but us as regular people, you made that movie, you did real young, you did real well. Are you financially set the rest of your life, or have you actually had to work real world jobs? You said something about, you know.
He owns this hotel.
And the other ones as well, have you actually had to take other jobs to, you know, it seems like for us, I'm sure up there,
I've waited tables for like 16 years of my life. I've worked in all kinds of different jobs that I didn't enjoy very much. I was a child actor in the 80s. I'm so far from set financially.
So your mom and dad spent all that money?
I don't think I think it's way less money than you're thinking.
Yeah,
it's so much less money than you're thinking.
Yeah.
Particularly nowadays, because the union, the Screen Actors Guild, has tried to make it easier for producers to get films done, and so they've come up with different scales. You know, they have the standard contract, and then they have low budget, and then they have ultra low budget, and then they have, you know, the bag of chips and the 6-pack of Coke budget. And so the budget isn't there for us to really be, you know, living in the lap of luxury. Luxury's lap stood up for me.
Yeah.
Okay? Went away.
I know, like, the shows that, like, 90210 was always in reruns, and people will say, ka-ching, sorry, and ka-ching, that ka-ching is about 7 cents. Literally 7. I get checks for a penny.
Yes.
So it's not what you think. It's much more of a job than you think. And, you know, sometimes I'll tell you, flat out, when Child's Play made $5,000 a week, that sounds like a lot of money. I probably worked 5 weeks, and then didn't work, you know, for a year. So you have to make that money last a long time. And that was a lot of money. They used to pay back then. That's big money. The 80s was big money time. They don't pay like that anymore. I make $100 a day on independent movies I do. This short that I mentioned that I'm doing, I'll get $100 a day for 3 days. So yeah, not yeah. It's hard. It's hard unless you're A-list. Yeah, it's frustrating that everyone thinks that. Also frustrating is that everyone thinks our resumes reflect our taste in movies and television. Like, I wouldn't have preferred to have been in everything Quentin Tarantino ever did instead of Matlock, but, you know, Matlock's what I got. So I took it.
Yeah, you take what you get. And the bottom line is you got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, there's been years that I've worked 30 days out of the entire year. And when you're trying to raise a family and all that, there's a lot of sucking away.
Or no days. I've had a couple of years recently, no days, worked 0 days. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, last year I did 7 films, but they were all ultra low budget films. So if I was making the money, the kind of money last year that I made when I was rocking and rolling in the 70s and 80s, okay, I don't necessarily think that's not the case. Okay? It's only like Brad Pitt or somebody that makes $20 million a picture that can afford to buy a chalet in Paris.
The list of people that get paid that much is very small.
There's over 120,000 union members in the Screen Actors Guild, and only 5% make enough money to qualify for insurance. So
Which is 25,000 to qualify for insurance? So that's one of the numbers. So, and what's the poverty line? What's the yearly income of the poverty line? It's like, I think it's like 2,000.
So you're making like $4,000 or $5,000 above the poverty line.
But people know your face and they think you're rich.
I had a guy at the very first convention I did was Chiller, and it was like a couple of months after House of 1,000 Corpses was released. This guy came to my table and said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're charging people for this." Okay, and I said, "You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right." said, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You buy all this shit. You buy my plane ticket, and you feed me, and you put me up in a hotel, and I'll sign all this for free. What do you think? The convention fairy just shows up and all this stuff is there, okay? And it took it back because he felt like, you know, stars just have all this stuff given to them. No, it's not the case. And sometimes it's just really crazy. The whole time I was trying to make it as an actor and struggling, I wanted to join a gym, but I couldn't afford that. And so I got on a show called Mary Hartman, which was a totally whacked out comedy, late night comedy thing, because I dealt with everything, homosexuality, to drugs, to whatever. And yes, I don't know. It just, I was at the top of my game, but I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't making money. You know, not making real money. So, sad story.
I think if everybody made as much money as everyone thinks, that everybody would be an actor.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's actually really hard.
And when you, if you sit down and break down the hours, I mean, I've worked, and we've all worked 16, 18-hour days. I did an episode of the Lucy Show. The last day, 20 hours. So you take the dollars that you make on the show and divide that by 20. You know,
then there's lottery.
Pumping gas.
There's like lottery show, like The Simpsons. I know we're on The Simpsons Network. They're making $500,000 an episode with The Simpsons. It's the longest running written, scripted television show in history. And they do a table read one day, Thursday, and then on Monday they all get them together and record it. They work, so 2 days, one is a rehearsal day, one is a birthday, and $500,000. And sometimes you'll watch an episode and like, you know, Lisa Simpson or something will just say 3 words. Ka-ching! $500,000. But that's a really, really, really rare. That's the lottery.
And now we have the shows that are specifically designed to view off of a computer, like the webisodes. They wanted me to do a webisode, really a creative 3D animated thing called Chat. And I was one of the 3 stars in the show. And there were 10 episodes, and they called me to do the voiceovers for the character. And after 10 episodes, I went. And later, I was out. But you're making that,
Very small. Because it says reserved seats for VIPs.
All right. Any last question?
Last question?
Is that like the first 4 rows?
Oh, all right, over there. Last question. Unfortunately, maybe never do. I mean, literally never. Outside of like the horror convention, it happened one time at one bar, and I was convinced someone would go up to it. Because I was like 27, there's no way. But no, that doesn't happen at all. So, you know, if I'm waiting tables, they don't know that, which is good. Yeah, I really want to talk about it in that context.
I'm always amazed how many people come up and say, apologize for recognizing me. I'm not doing porn. And so, I don't know why anyone would think we do a really public thing. So, and thank God people will see it. Otherwise, we couldn't keep doing it. So, I would say it's like a neutral thing for me. It's not fun or irritating. It's just the reality of it. It's pleasant. You know, it's not an unpleasant thing at all. And it's great to have them. Usually, if they're approaching, they're coming to say nice things. And I'll tell you what is weird. When I did 90210, and that show was a phenomenon at the time. What was frustrating, I had a really distinct look, and I would be picked out a lot. And people would, girls and kids in the mall, so I couldn't go to the mall for a couple of years because people didn't have the nerve to approach, which is a much more pleasant thing to do. Would rather hover and follow and giggle and point, and I used to feel like the dog-faced girl that grew up like a circus freak, and that's unpleasant. But being approached is better. So I apologize for that.
Sometimes I play with people. Somebody will come up to me and say, you look just like that guy who played that clown in that Rob Zombie movie. And I go, you know what? People tell me that all the time. I'm going to have to watch that movie. Okay? And then they'll look hard, and then they'll look harder, and they go, that is you. That's
I had that too. I'll say, you're Emily Valentine. No, you're not.
You're the one who brought it up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
thank you so much, guys.